a Winston buff and a Roadhog nerf. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Salosa, and this is Unit. That almost sounded like a song. No, it was terrible. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we've had a post from Jeff Goodman on the official forums about balance changes coming to the PTR. And the first thing it addresses is Winston. So Winston's critical hit volume has been reduced by 15%. Now, what the hell does that mean? Well, this is a buff to Winston, because what this means is the critical hit area of Winston has been reduced by 15% in size. This is absolutely beautiful, because this means Winston's going to take less damage. So what the hell is the critical hit box thing? Well, basically it's the headshot box, right? Although some heroes in Overwatch, it's not generally the head. Like, it could be the front of D.Va's mech, which I guess you could say is the head, or maybe the rear of Bastion, which again, I guess you could kind of say is the head when he's in sentry mode, where he's got the weak crit spot. But for most heroes, it's generally the head. So it would be referred to as a headshot or headshot damage or whatever in most of the games. Anyway, the size of Winston's crit box is being reduced on his head. Now, why is that? Well, Jeff says this: Winston's head hit volume was just abnormally big, making him take more damage than he otherwise should. This change brings it more in line with the other heroes. This is great for Winston, because what it means is Winston is now more tanky. I play a lot of Soldier 76, and if Winston jumps me, I just kill him, because it is so easy to land headshots onto Winston. You're basically firing into his body effectively, because of the way sort of like his head sort of hangs down, like, because he's a gorilla, right? So that's how he walks around. Also, get ready to check out this ult in a second. It is absolutely the best Winston ult you will ever see, and it totally doesn't involve me just jumping off the map and dying. Yeah, anyway, so this is a good change for Winston. What they're doing with heroes as well, especially, well, Winston is, well, I'll get on to that in a second, but basically what they're doing with heroes is, if only you guys were inside my mind, you would know what I just said to myself, but yeah. What they're doing is minor changes to heroes to make sure the balance isn't too, that ult was just so bad, isn't too ridiculous, like to make them super powerful. Because Winston, I think, is in a very unique position. If you buff Winston too much, Winston could definitely bring back sort of like a very heavy tank meta, because Winston is this highly mobile, like, quite effective tank. And even, to be honest, right now Winston is coming back into the game, because there's a lot of Tracer and Genji use, and Winston is the ideal character or the ideal tank to deal with those kind of heroes, which is great, and it means Winston's coming back. So you've got to be really careful with what you do to Winston. You don't want to go too crazy, you don't want to give him too much power, because then you'll see him in every single game. Now, what would I actually like to see happen to Winston? What I want to do is go back in time, because I think this is a good change. This is obviously great that we've got the reduced damage on his, or the reduced size of his hitbox on his head, so less critical damage he's going to take, so less crit damage, so he's more tanky, right? That's great. What I'd like to see, though, is something done to his barriers. Now, if you remember a while ago, back in Season 1, when Overwatch launched, there was no hero limit, so you could literally take as many heroes as you wanted. So you could take 3 Winstons, 4 Winstons, hell, you could take 6 Winstons if you were crazy enough to do so. Now, during that period, Winston's bubble got nerfed. It used to be 1,000 hit points, this barrier, which is obviously quite substantial. However, they nerfed it down to 500. The reason for that was because you could stack Winstons and just drop loads of these bubbles all over the place, which was absolutely ridiculous. So I think I would like to see a bit of an increase to his bubble health. Like, maybe if it goes up to, I don't know, from 500, which it is now, to maybe 750 or something, maybe that's something they might do. I don't know, because the thing with Winston is he lives and dies by his bubble. If he doesn't have his bubble available when he's doing Winston things, so diving into the back line, he's just going to die. I mean, you see I put the bubble down there just to sort of protect the choke there, because I thought they were spamming shots through. I may as well, you know, I've got no intention of using it, but when I jump in, I want to drop my barrier down. And this is the other thing as well. If you look at Winston compared to Mei, Mei can destroy her wall, right? Mei drops a wall, okay, it blocks, it is a piece of terrain, so it blocks your movement and it blocks enemy movement, which is a bit different to Winston's bubble, which everybody can run through. However, Mei can destroy her own wall, restarting her cooldown on the ability. Winston, however, when he drops his bubble down, that's it. It either gets destroyed or it dissipated, or it starts to dissipate after a period of time. Generally, it gets destroyed because it's only got 500 health. But after that period there, that's when the cooldown starts again. Winston cannot actually destroy his own sort of bubble. And here's an interesting thing as well. You know the recall cinematic where Winston's bubble explodes? Imagine if you could detonate the bubble. Now, okay, I'm not talking some sort of massive bubble size explosion, but maybe like a little very sort of mini pulse bomb, like 10% of a pulse bomb. That might be a bit too powerful though, because if you think of Winston, he could jump in onto you and do it would cause damage as he lands onto you. He would fire into you, he would drop his bubble and detonate his bubble, and it would probably be like a one-shot ability, so it'd be OP. But I thought that would be cool to throw out there. But yeah, maybe something could happen to his bubble. Maybe just giving Winston the the ability to just destroy his own barrier, so he can start the cooldown again, so the ability starts to recharge on his sort of terms, and that might be good. But then again, maybe that's just a part of Winston that is always going to stick around. You have to be good with the bubbles, and that's going to determine who's a good Winston player and who isn't. So yeah, this is actually a good change for Winston because it means, well, he's more tanky. So Roadhog's nerfs, let's talk about this then. Scrap gun, spread decreased by 20%. Chain hook, targets are now pulled to a location 3.5 meters away, up from 2 meters. Cooldown increased from 6 to 8 seconds. Oh lord. Okay, so I made a video recently on Roadhog, and I was like, I don't think Roadhog's OP, and I don't think he is OP, but I did actually say in that video, maybe they'll do something to the cooldown of the hook, and they actually have. But they've done some other things which are quite interesting, and I think they're going to have some, well, they're going to have some ramifications. I've always wanted to use that word in a video. Alright, so what they've done is reduce the spread on the gun by 20%. So when you primary fire somebody, in this clip here, you can see me primary firing because this isn't, and none of these changes are actually in these clips because they haven't hit the PTR yet, because obviously this was just all posted on the forum by Jeff and he was explaining what they're going to do. But yeah, your primary fire, the spread has been decreased by 20%, so it doesn't spread as much. This means you're more effective at engaging targets at a longer range. Obviously, it's still close range because it's a shotgun, right? But it won't have this massive spread. So that kind of is a little bit of like a buff in a way. Like, you don't actually need people point blank on you to use it. You can fire at them like in a brawl and it will be more effective damage, because you'll notice a lot of Roadhog players do default to the secondary fire a lot when a team fight breaks out, unless somebody's literally point blank. Like, you would use the primary fire only when they're on top of you, so generally after you hook them, or if you're just running right up to them and firing at them. So now it's going to give you a bit of an option to use the primary fire, maybe sometimes where you would have used the secondary fire, which is quite interesting. However, the big stuff is the chain hook. So this is a very interesting change. So targets are now pulled to a location 3.5 meters away, up from 2 meters. Now, I believe melee range in this game is 3 meters. So what I think this means is, when you get pulled with the chain hook now, you can be fired at by Roadhog with his primary fire, yeah, with a decreased spread, so he'll have to be slightly more accurate at closer range, but I don't think he's going to have to be that much accurate. But then he's not going to be able to follow up with a quick melee attack. What this means is, if you're a Genji player, if you're a Reaper player, if you're a Tracer, or if you are Mei, or anybody with like an escape ability, a Diva could do this as well, anybody who can escape, you've now got a chance to, as soon as you get pulled in, okay, you will take a primary hit, like from his primary weapon. You just cannot avoid that unless you're, well, no, because you're stunned. You couldn't even do it if you were Diva with Defense Matrix. You'll take a hit, but you won't take the melee. At least I don't think you will. Roadhog's going to have to actually run forward to get that onto you. But there's a small gap there, which means, yes, you're going to take primary fire of Roadhog. Yes, it's going to do a lot of damage, but then you're going to be able to ice block. Then you're going to be able to blink away. Then you're going to be able to use Defense Matrix or any other number of abilities. So this might actually make his sort of insta-death combo not that insta-death anymore, which is really interesting to me. Like, that is really, really interesting. The next thing we've got is cooldown increase from 6 to 8 seconds. Now, in a video I made a while ago where I was talking about Roadhog the God Hog, saying like, yes, he is powerful, but you just need to learn to play around him, which basically means don't be in a position to get hooked, because if you're getting hooked, you're going to die, basically, because that's what happens right now with the hook. However, increasing the cooldown means it's not going to be available all of the time. Now, generally, Roadhogs, they would throw random hooks, yeah? They'd throw them around corners, they'd predict, like, maybe somebody's going to be here, they'd throw it, and that's fine, that's good Roadhog play. But now, they'll have to be a little bit more conservative, because 2 seconds, it might not seem like a lot, but it actually is, because it means that hook, well, it's not going to be available all of the time. I mean, okay, it was only available every 6 seconds, which is a bit mad, because you could throw the hook every 6 seconds. But you have to look deeper at this. Look at abilities like Zarya's projected barrier. Look at Genji's deflect. This is meaning that their abilities are actually up when Hog's when Hog's hook is up. So this means there should be viable counters to Roadhog's hook. So what they're trying to do here, I believe, with Roadhog is give you skill-based counters to Roadhog's hook combo. So if you get hooked now, because of the cooldown reduction on the hook, you should probably have a Zarya player with a bubble ready, and that Zarya player needs to bubble you, right, to stop you taking the damage, and then you can't take the melee follow-up because you're not pulled as close to Roadhog. Then you can move away. Or if you're a Genji player, you know you should have deflect available. So when you know Roadhog hasn't used his hook for a while, you should have your deflect available now, and you can use it before he gets you with the hook. So I think this is absolutely interesting, right? I know I say that a lot. I've been saying it a lot recently in videos, but I think it is. Like these, like this is a Roadhog sort of nerf buff in a way. They've buffed his primary fire, so it'll be slightly more effective in some situations, but not as effective point blank like it is right now. It still will be if you've got the accuracy to aim into the head. I'm still pretty confident you're going to be able to just one-shot most people when you hook them in. You just need to fire into their face, basically, which, you know, it lines up to allow you to do that. So that's going to be okay. Increasing the cooldown on the hook, I think that's fine. I kind of wanted that. 2 seconds, I think, is fine. I don't think we're going to see much more than that. And yeah, and Winston, like, the Winston buff is good, is interesting. It's going to make him more tanky. I think that's all we're probably going to see, though, for a while with Winston. I don't think we're going to see tons and tons of changes because you've got to be very careful with these kind of things. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. These are very interesting changes. I've been Stylosa, this is Unit Lost, and I'll catch you next time. Toodaloo.